Guys, so yesterday I obviously told you English language paper 2, you have to do some form of persuasive writing, writing designed to influence somebody else. Before I show you how to do some exam tasks, I want to revisit with you some key principles of how persuasion works. So yesterday I introduced you to this, and I have on the screen for you 5 questions I'd like you to answer, please. So I would require you to pause the video. Do not look at your notes from yesterday. Please try to do this from your brain. If you cannot remember, then look at your notes. But you learn so much more if you try to answer from your brain rather than just look at notes straight away. So please pause the video, answer the 5 questions from your brain, check your answers in your notes, and then resume the video. Okay, so very quickly then, the question, who was Aristotle? I mean, there's a lot of answers potentially for that. However, for what we're learning, he was the guy who wrote the book, The Art of Rhetoric, and set out the Aristotelian triad. What is rhetoric? It's the art of persuasion, the ability to influence other human beings through words. Why did rhetoric develop as an art form? Well, there's multiple reasons, but again, the simple answer we're going for here is because of democracy. And in a democracy, politicians rely on influencing other people to vote for them, to have power. What did Aristotle mean by ethos? Ethos, the ability to sell yourself as a speaker, to create the impression of credibility, trustworthiness, likability, if you like, so that people are more likely to believe in our argument. And one example of a first person pronoun, I, we, us, our, any of those are great. Okay, so a second little retrieval task. Yesterday I said that ethos really has 4 strands to it, 4 things you're trying to achieve to create ethos, as represented by these 4 icons. Again, from memory, can you try to write down what the 4 things are? Obviously, if you can't remember, do check your notes. Okay, hopefully you wrote these 4 things down and you remembered at least 1 or 2 of them. Trustworthy, as represented by this lovely icon of a heart and arrows, and I thought it showed trust. Knowledgeable about the subject, I put a brain. You're genuine and you care, ticks to show genuine, and you're a good person. So really, you need to just remember those 4 things. That ethos means you're trying to convince your audience, whether it's through the written or the spoken mode, that you are all of these things. Okay, so if we come back to our Aristotelian triad, which is obviously the key things, 3 key things I want you to learn, we've looked at ethos, the ability to build trust and credibility. Today I'm going to look a little bit at logos with you and how you can sound logical, reasonable and truthful. So logos really is your argument. Logos isn't just about loads of facts and loads of information. Logos is about knowledge, really. And rhetoric is all about belief, not knowledge. Rhetoric is all about your viewpoint. And often the topics you'll be writing about have people can hold very different views on. So there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer, but through knowledge, you can make people believe or agree with you, okay? So it's an appeal to logic, using facts and figures to an extent, but also information to show that you are knowledgeable. So it overlaps with ethos in that sense, but it's more of a sense of building up a really detailed argument. Not just saying, oh yeah, you should pick up some litter because, litter's bad. You need to really build up an argument with it and show that you know stuff. So there's 3 key points to logos, which I think are useful. The first one is citing facts, and that is important. In an exam, that's really difficult because you can't do any actual research. But within realistic journalistic writing or speaking, having a few facts that you can say is important. Also using historical or literal analogies, referring to history or to things that have happened in literature is a really good way to show that you are knowledgeable. And really, it's constructing a logical argument where you've got things to say. You don't just jump from point to point and you know stuff. And now, facts are tricky little things, and a key part of logos is the manipulation of facts. Strictly speaking, the definition of a fact is something that can be proven true or false. So an example of a fact is on the screen. Every day, on average, 5 people are killed and 64 seriously injured on UK roads. That can be proven true or false. The statistics are recorded and can be checked. I've then given you a non-example. UK roads are very dangerous. Well, that's subjective, isn't it? Because some people might think that 64 serious injuries a day is very dangerous. But generally speaking, I go out on the roads, I don't think, oh my God, am I in danger? So facts sometimes are real facts. They can be checked. But these sort of non-facts, where they sound factual but they're not, are really commonplace in persuasion to try and manipulate audiences into perceiving a danger or perceiving something in the way we want them to. Okay, so we're going to go back to William's facts now, and we're just going to have a little look at how he uses facts and perhaps some non-facts to present information in a knowledgeable way. So his speech continued. The price of ivory has fallen by a staggering 75%. 19 African range states now stand united through the Elephant Protection Initiative to protect their elephant populations and put ivory beyond economic use. Over 100 representatives of the transport sector have signed the Buckingham Palace Declaration, committing to disrupt the flow of illegal wildlife products passing through their trucks, their ships and their planes. More illegally trafficked wildlife products are being seized in Asia. Communities are being given greater control and benefits from their wildlife, improving their incentives to keep endangered species safe. And committed, brave people all around the world continue to put their lives on the line to protect wildlife and bring criminals to justice. That's just the logos bit. And hopefully you can see how it's different to the other bit. The ethos bit that we looked at last lesson was much more personal. Now we're getting to the facts of it, the information about what's really happening to these animals on the ground, both in a positive sense and obviously in a negative, in the fact that these measures are needed. Okay, so can you just take a minute just to pause this video and to pick out facts and why you think he uses those particular facts, and anything you think is interesting about the way he presents the facts. Okay, so hopefully you were able to pick out the numbers, because really the numbers are often the facts, aren't they? 75%, price of ivory has fallen by 75%. That's a fact. We can prove it or we can't. 19 African states have now united. Again, we can prove it or we can't. Over 100 representatives have signed up to this declaration. More is also a fact in this case. More illegally trafficked wildlife products being seized in Asia. So we can check that. If we looked at this time 2 years ago and this time and looked now, is it more? We can test that even though there's not a definitive number. Communities are being given greater control and benefits from the wildlife. So that's a little bit vaguer, isn't it? I mean, it is a fact in the sense we could test it, we could find out, but it is also subjective to what he means by benefits. Obviously, if they're making money from the animals around them, they're less likely to kill them, to try and take their horns and so on. And then obviously committed, brave people all around the world put their lives on the line. He becomes a bit more emotional here, doesn't he? He sort of shifts away from the factual detail and adds in this emotional human contact about people who are being brave. So the key thing I wanted you to notice really is we've got all this factual content, things that show us that it's knowledgeable, it's informative, it's clear. But we've also obviously got words like staggering. So what William's doing there is he's positioning us to agree with his perception of it. I mean, it is a huge amount, isn't it, that the price of ivory's fallen by 75%. He could have said the price of ivory has fallen by 75%. The word staggering is not needed it. He's used that because it adds a kind of hyperbolic, persuasive quality to the fact. And it's likewise here where he uses committed, brave people. That flattery and praise of the people involved in the battle, again, adds that more emotional human side. And that's the key thing with logos. Just ramming a list of facts at people is really off-putting. They need to be presented in an engaging way alongside language that manipulates how we should respond to the fact and with a human element as well. I think it's also interesting if we look at the next bit of William's speech. He continues directly after all those facts. He says, so thank you to everyone in this room. Whether you are a ranger risking your life on a daily basis to protect elephants in a national park, a campaigner trying to correct falsehoods about the healing power of the rhino horn, a business leader ensuring that your company plays its part in frustrating the trade, a law enforcement official working to bring trafficking gangs to justice. You are the expert and you know what works. You rarely get the recognition you deserve. We must listen to you and we must amplify your voices. But despite the progress we have made over recent years, we know that this is no time for complacency. So we've got a real masterclass here in ethos, haven't we? We've had the logos section, we've had some information, but then we've got this really heavy use of the second person pronoun, the constant repetition of you. He's constantly talking to his audience, telling them that he values them. He may be the future King of England, he may have this huge status, but actually what he's saying is that the average person on the ground who's saving these animals, they're the people who are the most important. And he's really praising them and he's really showing them that he cares. And it's quite the way he kind of lists all the different people and builds it up, creates this passion up. The other thing that's important here is the use of the word but, because he's talked about lots of positives, hasn't he? This topic of the illegal animal trade and the fact so many species are facing extinction, he could be really emotive. He could have just listed all the terrible things that are happening to animals, but instead he's chosen all the positives. And as I said before, this is a deliberate strategy by William to try and make things sound achievable. Too much doom and gloom can be off-putting. And the word but represents a moment of change. Yes, we're achieving this. Yes, we're on the right path, but we need to do more. So William's making sure that he's getting his positive message of progress, but also balancing that with what more he wants done in order to make sure that these animals are saved. Okay, can you please write up a quick paragraph, well, a couple of sentences to summarise those points I just explained to you, please. Really just about that section, the logos section. I've given sentence stems. Prince William used a number of facts such as, you can pick one out of the extract if you rewind the video. Because, why did he do it? He also contains factual details with, obviously those more personal details, those other words, so that. You don't have to use these stems, but I'd just like you to write 2 or 3 sentences explaining how William built logos in that section and why that section of the speech is effective. Okay, last thing then is the practical application. Yesterday you started this task, write a short speech aimed at persuading other students at the college to improve the local environment by taking part in litter picks. Yesterday I asked you to create a strong ethos, so I asked you just to only write the opening paragraph of your speech, and all you had to do was set out what your topic was and to sell yourself as knowledgeable and credible and make people feel like you've got a bit of a relationship with them. What I'd like you to do is to carry on with your speech, to write the next paragraph, which is all about logos, by which I mean adding in more factual content in order to build a persuasive argument. And again, you can use Prince William's argument to help you with that. If I just scroll back to his argument, the things we've identified that Prince William did, you can take them. You don't need to spend hours researching facts, just make them up if you want to. They, sound plausible. So you can say, the amount of plastic pollution on our beaches has increased, because, it hasn't fallen, has it? Has increased by a staggering 75% in the last 20 years. Possibly not true, probably not true, but it doesn't matter because we're just practicing. If this was for real, it'd have to be right, but this is just practice. Every week, dedicated people spend hours collecting litter off the beaches. However, there's still so much to do. So you can, again, yours might not be as long as William's, but you can have a little practice go at just writing a paragraph that is factual, informative about why litter picks are such an important, or, collecting litter and tidying the environment is so important. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.